Yeah, there was also a question how to increase employee engagement in an unbossed company. And I found that a funny phrasing because
wait, when the company is already unbossed.
Yeah. So instead of answering the question, because I think you want to rather react to the question, Thomas.
Yeah. I'm indeed a bit puzzled. So the question is, we have an already unbossed company, and that's saying something. How many unbossed companies are there probably in the world as we speak?
That was
20,
also
25.
No, I think there between 5 and 10% of all organizations in the world are innovating with adopting an unbossed type of way of working.
Of mindset. All right, Nick, I'm in. And would these people say, or these companies, the people in these companies say, hey, we reached the Holy Grail?
No, it's a continuous journey.
Oh no, okay. So
but I think they would say that they definitely saw a huge increase in employee engagement. So the question is a bit funny to me. The result of unbossing your company is that employees are more engaged. There's nothing more to do.
Of course. But I would like to see this unbossed company before giving an answer.
Do you see any disadvantages in being unbossed?
Yes, if you belong to the 5%. You heard me talking about the 95% who have it already in their feeling that they love it. However, there are also the 5%, and I believe that, who
5% of employees, you mean?
5% of people. 5% of people around me in the world.
Yeah.
5% of listeners. Let's be honest. 5% of listeners who say, hey, you know what I want? I want that every day looks exactly like the last one. I hate surprises and I hate challenges. And for these 5%, the news that the company is being unbossed is very bad news. Let's be clear. And there are also 5%, or maybe more, of bosses who say, you know what, guys, all that modern stuff, I like it in a way, but for my 3-4 years, which I have still remaining here at the helm of the company, I will go on with my old style, what I have learned already 30 years ago. And when then comes the news, oh no, we have to unboss now. That's also bad news for these bosses.
Fully agree. And I was thinking, in addition to that, not adding more disadvantages to being unbossed, but there are definitely disadvantages in how you make the transformation towards unbossing. What I sometimes see is that there's a dogmatic belief in the command and control system, and now it's replaced with a dogmatic belief on what unbossing is, how it should be, and they kind of push it through the organization almost in a command and control way. So that could
in a
be
post way.
In
our definition, that's not even unbossing, Nick.
No. So the disadvantages could be that some leaders abuse it a little bit to solve a problem in the company. But apart from that, I don't see many disadvantages. Does unbossing need rules or processes or practices? An unbossed company. Does an unbossed company have rules and processes?
I give that one back to you, Nick, because I have to, because you are so good at this.
Yeah, it's the question is derived from one of the main misconceptions.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we heard it again in our podcast with Nina.
The misconception is that unbossing is chaos.
Yes,
That's the
so
misconception.
we are so conditioned by over processed companies with over hierarchical layers that the only alternative we can think of is just a white sheet. It's chaos. So of course an unbossed company needs rules and processes, and I would say there are less rules and processes, but the rules and processes that are there are much clearer and actually non-negotiable if you want to play the game. Whereas in a traditional company, there are lots of systems and processes, but everyone can kind of segue around them if they want.
It's even an art to do that in traditional company.
What the rules and processes become, I believe, is unique to every company. But what we do see across all the unbossed organizations is that the principles they use and the questions they ask that trigger the creation process of new and better systems and processes are fairly similar. And I've listed a couple of ones. So first principle we see always is every employee should directly face a customer, whether it's an internal customer or an external customer, directly face the customer. Every employee should have real power to create value for their customer. Everyone is an adult, people can be trusted, and people want to take ownership. That's also, I believe, a principle. Another one is common sense, simplicity. If you look at traditional processes and systems, they're often so overcomplicated that they don't match reality anymore. There's also a sense of a principle that a belief, let's say, that everyone is open to learn and is curious by nature. There's also a strong ambition to win. It's not like you become unbossed and it's everybody parties and no, there's still an ambition to be the best at something, to reach a certain goal. And then last but not least is that there's also this principle that tensions and conflicts between human beings and teams are gifts that we should receive and open and learn from. So these are just some principles that we see across many organizations. Now, the translation of the principles into processes and systems of how people work together, that's unique for every company. You can be inspired by companies, but you cannot copy paste. It's not possible.
Wow. And there we have a major point, Nick, because that goes much further than only talking about processes and rules. There is not one unbossed company which looks like the other. I think we can both agree that Spotify is one of the most unbossed companies in the world. I think we can also agree that Haier in China is one of the most unbossed companies in the world. Now, nobody would ever think of mixing up Spotify and Haier. And why not? There are a million reasons. There are different people over there. They are busy in different markets. They have different kinds of things which are really holy for them, that may be very much different from Spotify, from Haier. Every single unbossing journey looks different. Every single unbossed company looks different if we go in the details of processes and rules. And that's also, by the way, a reason why you cannot unboss just like that.
Yeah, and why our main advice is do not copy paste the results, because I think the organization model of Spotify that goes around in companies is the model of Spotify 6-7 years ago. I think it's even more. So in the meantime, they continue to evolve, unbossed as they are. They continue to adopt and adapt new ways of working.
Exactly.
But you can copy paste their start from the same principles and ask yourself, what are the questions they've asked to come to this result, which is much more interesting than the actual result.
Very good one. But this is also, Nick, what distincts us from other and huge consulting companies. because I have seen an army of consulting companies who went around with the Spotify model. I can tell you 2 banks very near to me here who have adopted the Spotify model, leading to major frustrations and leading to a situation which is, in terms of motivation of the employees, much worse than the old world under command and control. So it is really, really a central point. Even if you would have an unbossed competitor in the same sector, it would be still a mistake to copy paste that, because you do not have exactly the same people as your competitor. Just to begin with that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a central point.
Absolutely. Let's take 2 more. The first one is, what are the difficulties when introducing unbossing into a business, and what might be specific difficulties in Asia?
Look, there is one thing. I cannot talk now intelligently about the challenges in Asia, because I trust that our listeners here know that much better than I do. What I can tell you is what are the biggest challenges. The biggest challenges are usually the leaders right now. And that is also why we begin, and always begin, with the CEO and the executive committee. And if we have tackled that, we are already a long percentage of the way. So if you do the communication right, if you have your purpose worked out and have it right, which are usually huge challenges, obviously, but you would be with us, so the challenge is already much smaller. Then the remaining challenge with us being there are usually the leaders. And I'm talking about first line, and I'm also talking about middle managers. Let's be clear. And honest.
Yeah. I'm again going to take a little bit a broader perspective. There's 2 things I want to say on this question. First and foremost, there's a huge misconception that this journey is super risky, but actually, if you adopt an unbossed way of working from the start, which means you go in small steps, you with many small improvements make one giant impact, there is no much risk, because you start with small things. You start in critical areas of your business, but still, it's not like you're going to go bankrupt all of a sudden because you start unbossing. So it's less risky, I feel, than what many people perceive it to be. And the second thing, in terms of what makes it difficult to introduce for all people, is to understand what this new view on organizations and work means for them. What's in it for me? Because we come from decades of command and control, decades of conscious and subconscious beliefs on what work should be. And we need to unlearn a lot. Everybody in the organization needs to unlearn a lot. And that's difficult in the beginning. It's difficult to get a concrete picture on what is in it for me now. How is this going to change my life in the company? And so
but wait a second, Nick. Yeah, that's why we are there.
Yeah. So, yeah, true. That's why the first phase should entirely be focused on that. But that being said, it is for many companies, without our support, it is a challenge. It is a challenge, and it takes time.
Without our support, I wouldn't even think of it.
Yeah, and it actually included in your answer, a difficulty also is if you want to start unbossing somewhere in the organization and you don't have the buy-in of your leadership and executive committee. That's very challenging. You will have some short-term results with your own team, but somewhere down the line, you will hit the wall and you will either convince your leadership or you don't. And then if you don't, it basically stops, right?
You are
become
very
an
very
unbossed
kind
island.
now. Yeah, very kind you are being, Nick. I say it a bit shorter. It's doomed. Forget it.
Last question, and it's an interesting topic, Thomas. Money is always a painful issue in the organization. I'm going to read the question, right? Whether there's a boss or not, especially in COVID times, organizations are in debt, have no customers, but still have to find ways to support employees through salaries. Do you have some practices to make salaries satisfied for each person? Employees feel valued and important instead of being scrutinized and criticized. Other members feel fair, especially in roles that don't make money directly.
Wonderful, wonderful. And especially this last sentence, the so-called functions which don't make money directly. Yes, they do. Of course, I know what you mean. But let me tell you one thing. Everybody in your company has customers. Where these customers are sitting, either in the company or outside of the company, doesn't matter for me at this moment. Now let's go a bit further in terms of money. Nick, we talked about transparency, right? Now, guys, if you want to be transparent, money is a good place to begin with. I tell you that. If that makes you scared now, let's go through it. I know why you're scared. Transparency. And then that everybody has the feeling of sitting in the same boat. We are all sitting in the same boat. And it's just the other side of the coin of this transparency and also this trust. The moment when I have the feeling, oh yeah, here are we, you know, we the guys who face the customers, or we who are the internal servants who are anyway not valued. And there are they, you know, the people in the sunlight. That's toxic. And this is my conclusion. How will you work it out in the concrete case? Again, that may look different from one company to another company. How will you manifest transparency? Again, there may be differences, but get this transparency, and transparency creates trust, and trust creates the feeling that we are all sitting in the same boat, and there are not different kinds of people, royalty over here and kind of foot soldiers over here. This is my answer.
Yeah, I'm going to conclude with something I already mentioned. For me, working in an unbossed environment is the personal transformation of a lifetime, of really letting go your own illusions on what you have to be and becoming who you truly are, and understanding what your gifts and talents are, and what aspects you don't need to focus on. And I don't know any other topic that triggers so much personal development and so much personal self-reflection than putting the money on the table. Because indeed, it brings to the surface whether some salespeople feel more important than people in the financial department simply because they close the deals. But it also brings above other people that have the opposite, like they feel less, they make themselves smaller than they are, because they think they don't deserve to earn as much money as someone else. So again, I agree with you. What this then means in terms of practices and systems, that's to be seen in every case, case by case. That being said, making it transparent and starting the dialogue and embracing the conflicts that come with that, I don't know any better trigger in an organization, except maybe shares. Yeah, shares in a company is also a topic like that. But money is the best trigger for this personal development. It's messy in the beginning, but in the end, you grow from it. So yeah, Thomas, I think we covered most of the questions. It was fun.
Indeed, I'm still fired up.
Voila. And let's hope this this Q&A goes viral in Vietnam and many other countries in Asia.
Exactly. See you soon, guys.
Cheers.